Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today we have the WE Knives Ferrum Forge Malice. That's kind of interesting that it says WE Knives on it. Ferrum Forge does a whole lot with WE. Their Archbishop 2.0 was made by WE. I love that knife. That's the one I will probably put in at the end in the end slide thing for your suggested next video to watch. I loved that knife. They did a great job with that. They do all of Ferrum Forge's mass drop stuff, of which there are several. This is just as an example, the Gent, which is fantastic. I've had this thing for a very long time, but they do a lot of other, the Dow, the Buck, the Crux, all that stuff made by WE. So they've worked with them for a very long time, but I guess they decided it made sense to do an actual WE model with them. So cool. So this is the WE Ferrum Forge Malice. As I said, it is not inexpensive. I will get that out of the way. $283.10, the very precise price. Comes in two different versions. This flame anno and a plain titanium one. If you want to do customization, get the plain one. But if you don't, yeah, get this. Get this one. Look at that. It looks a lot brighter in the photos, but it's a lot more ghostly, I guess is the term you'd use in person, and I love it. You just get a little bit of bronze, a little bit of blue, and that black, and it just looks great. Should hide scratches okay, I guess. Although I did take the pocket clip off on this, and I could see some scratches through there. But other than that, I've been carrying it for a couple of days, and it doesn't seem to be snail trailing or anything a whole lot. Very, very, very pretty. Do very much like that anno, and I like the overall look of it as well. It is definitely, without a doubt, at one glance, a Ferrum Forge. It has, that typical, front finger cutout that they're fond of. It has that kind of typical drop point, really nice Ferrum Forge blade shape that they do on a lot of stuff. Not everything, but on a lot of stuff. It has a cutout. It's a bit unique on this one, but still has that kind. It has definitely a Ferrum Forge look, but it is a bit of a bruiser for Ferrum Forge. It is an over 6-ounce knife. It's not that long, only 3.5-inch blade, under 3.5-inch blade. But it is a bit of a bruiser, and I talked to them on Instagram, and that's kind of what they said they were going for. They kind of wanted an American-style bruiser, and they nailed it. This is definitely, it feels very, very much like a ZT or something like that, which is not a complaint by me, as we'll talk about more in a moment. Yeah, it is a bit of a bruiser, but, I gotta say, I really like it. Let's do some stats to illustrate how much of a bruiser it is. We have an overall length of 8.15 inches. So again, not ridiculously long. Blade length, 3.45 inches. Blade thickness, pretty thick, 0.16 inches. And a handle thickness of 0.54. And a weight of 6.1 ounces. And they get the golf clap again because it did weigh exactly 6.1 ounces. It's what they claim and it's what it weighed. So good on you, WE. They usually actually do nail it almost down to the 100th almost every single time. Okay, let's do some size comparisons. We will put it in our usual Spyderco sandwich. We have your Spyderco Para 3 and the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Trans-lamped pivots here. So you can see it's not dramatically longer than a PM2. It's taller for sure, but not dramatically longer. Actually, what it reminds me of even more in height and stuff is the Malice 2, especially when they're closed. We'll start out with them open and then I'll show you when they're closed, but you can see the Malice 2. It kind of reminds me more in height-wise of that. We'll put them together here. Yeah, the Malice 2 may even be a bit taller. It is a bit taller. So it's not a dramatically gigantic knife, but packaging-wise, I don't know. It just reminds me more of the Malice 2, but it's a beefy sucker, though, for sure. We will put it up against one Hugin. This is actually probably the biggest folding knife that I have right now, the Cold Steel 8010. And you can see the 8010 feels so much bigger, and it is heavier and stuff, but it feels so much bigger than the Malice, but it really isn't when you look. It's like, what, an 1/8 of an inch longer. If you line up the pivots, it's like an 1/8 of an inch longer out the front, and maybe, yeah, 1/2 an inch out the back. But this feels way bigger. The 8010 feels a lot bigger than the Malice, but as you can see, pictures don't lie. It's really not that much dramatically huger than that. Let's put it up against another knife that this is definitely going to have a battle to the death with. I want to apologize. I am leaving town for over a week on Monday for my other job, and I would love to have this battle to the death done before I go, but it's not going to happen. We have the 0562 tie from ZT. Very similar price, almost exactly the same price. 20 CV versus M390, almost exactly the same steel. Very similar stats, similar in size, as you can see, and weight and all that stuff. So absolutely, definitely going to do a comparison with them. And you know what? I can say right now, I don't know which one's going to win, which is high praise for me, because the 0562 tie has been probably my most carried knife this year so far. I'm almost certain it is, actually. So let's talk more about this thing. The blade. Pretty thick blade stock, as I said, 0.16 inches, but as usual, WE's done a great job with the edge. It is fairly thin behind the edge, 20 thousandths. It's not, you know, one of the 13, 14, 15 thousandths they do like on the Civivis and stuff, but this is a much thicker blade stock. I kind of get that, and it's meant to be kind of abused a bit more, so I can get why they went with a bit thicker edge on this, but it is a very high flat grind. Excellent edge out of the box. And it's a pretty good slicer. Is it amazing? No, but it's not far off. It's pretty darn good. And again, I said that little bit of thickness behind the edge gives you a bit more confidence. I don't worry about chipping it and stuff as much. So I'm kind of okay with that in this kind of knife, that it's a little bit thicker than some of the other WEs. 20 thousandths would be average to fine for everybody else. Just the WEs and Civivis have spoiled us with the super thin edges, and this doesn't quite have as thin as those other ones do. Nice. The finger choil works as a great sharpening choil. That works really well. The only complaint I can really have about the blade at all, well, first of all, let's get another good thing on the way. The tip is pretty good. That's a very good balance between being a good piercer and not being so dainty you're going to snap it off. But the only complaint I really have is on this little cutout. These things look cool, this kind of, you know, car grill pattern. It looks awesome. I do imagine some stuff getting caught up in that. Other than that, not a whole lot to complain about. If you want to do some really fine slicing, when you get up towards the tip, it's way thinner than the 16 thousandths it is back here. It tapers down pretty quick. So, you know, just use that last inch and a half. It's a really nice blade. Very good. Ergonomically, also very good. A couple little problems, one little problem, but nothing major. I will just say the problem, get that out of the way. When you're grabbing it in a normal saber grip and you're really holding on it, you can feel this pocket clip. I would not even close to call it a hot spot. It's nicely rounded, all that stuff, but you can feel it a little bit. Not a big deal whatsoever. This jimping back here I do like, gives you a little bit of grip on your palm right there. If you have the same size hands as me, I have large size hands but pretty skinny fingers, and it rests right in a good spot and gives you a bit of grip. You can choke up, and when you choke up, it's really good. I really do like using this in the choked up position. It's very nice. The top of the blade here is nicely chamfered. It's kind of, I guess, beveled, you'd call it, more than chamfer, but it's kind of beveled and chamfered. It looks cool, and it's a super comfortable place to put your finger, and it works superbly for that. And when you're in this position, you don't feel that clip at all or anything. It's very excellent when you're choking up. So ergonomically, I have to say it's pretty darn good. Yeah, you can feel the clip, but it's pretty darn good. As far as the carry goes, this is something I was a bit worried about. I always am. Any knife that's this big, you worry how it's going to carry. This one carries pretty good. I'm not going to call it excellent, but pretty good. No deep carry option because it is a milled clip, but it looks good. You know, if you got the plain one, obviously the plain knife has a plain clip. It doesn't have this flame ammo, but it looks pretty good in the pocket. You got a little bit sticking out, nothing dramatic. The angle of the clip is good. It doesn't take up as much room as I expected it to, but it does weigh 6 ounces, so you got to keep that in mind. And when you slide your hand in, you have plenty of room to slide your hand past it, absolutely, for the size that it is. It's really good that way. But that jimping that I mentioned on the backspacer that I like so much when I'm holding it, you can feel it when your hand slides by, and you can feel the flipper tab a little bit. Is it horrible? No, at all. No, not at all. It carries pretty good, and it slides in and out pretty good. The pocket tension is very well dialed in. This anodization, another thing I forgot to mention, the ergonomics, it does have a bit of traction to it, if you can hear it against my really dry skin. You know, it's got a little bit of traction to it. I assume, I've not held one, but I assume that the plain titanium one would probably slide in out of the pocket even easier. But whenever you anodize something, it always, you know, gets a bit of texture to it. The action, wow, it's really, WEs are always really good, but I don't know. This is a WE with probably the heaviest blade of any WE that I've ever had, and heavy blades always are really nice when you close them, and this is no exception. And it's, oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. You hear that detent sucking it in? And listen to when it opens, too. It rockets out. The detent is perfect. The action on this is just fantastic. And the sounds that it makes are so good. I did take this apart. I did put some KPL on it. I do that to almost everything, though. Just in comparison, the 0562 tie, one of my favorite actions. Oh, maybe a little better sound. But as far as the action goes, I think this makes a little better noise. But other than that, no, it's pretty damn good. That's my overall conclusion. Pretty damn good. $283. Is it a bargain? No, I wouldn't say it's a bargain. I think that's a fair price. I will say I have noticed a bit over the last, I don't know, couple of years, especially the real mainline WE knives. We're not talking your Civivis and stuff, but the prices have been creeping up. I don't know if that's tariffs. I don't know if it's just that they're starting to realize their reputation and they're charging a bit more for their mainline stuff. I do think this knife is worth every bit of the $283 because, like I said, it's Riot good in quality, and Riots cost a lot more than that. But I wouldn't call it a bargain exactly. My only other thought is maybe they could have done some milling inside. There's no, like, almost none. There's none inside of it. I should have taken pictures when I took it apart, but there's no milling. Like, they could have milled it out a bit like the 0562 is and dropped, you know, probably 3/4 of an ounce. That would have been really nice. I'm not sure about these grill things. They look cool, but they don't. By the way, with the deployment, I forgot to mention, you can Spidey flick it and you can thumb flick it, but it's not as easy. It's definitely primarily a flipper. It probably would be easier to Spidey flick and thumb flick if these little grill patterns weren't in there, and they may catch stuff. But it's really the only flaws I have to say with it. And I have to say, before I did this, I went back and watched my WE Wasabi video, because that was my previous favorite WE that I ever reviewed, and I think I had less complaints about the Wasabi, but I like this better. This is my favorite WE they've ever made, and it's just better than the sum of its parts. I think it's got a couple little things that annoy me. I wish they milled it. The price is good, but not awesome. And I'm not sure about these grill things. And the pocket clip, I can feel it when I grip it really hard. But overall, I still like it better than the Wasabi, and I can't believe I'm saying that, because I loved the Wasabi. It just is a very confidence-inspiring knife, and just this action is silly. Just flat out silly. Now, like I said, I did take it apart. I did put some KPL in it, but out of the box even, it was great. It just needed some lube, because WE never puts hardly any lube on anything. That's just kind of a thing with WE. And some people like their bearings like that, so I get why they do that. Let you choose your own lube if you're that kind of guy, because everybody has their favorite lube, and we get into religious wars over our favorite brands of lubricant. But excellent knife from WE. Highly recommend it. And, you know, in a couple bucks, go to the Ferrum Forge guys, which they're really awesome. Go check out their YouTube channel if you haven't, by the way. It's very amusing. The two brothers, and they always make really funny, really excellent videos. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.